Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Now, if you've ever played Singularity Mages, chances are you've heard this sound. Oh! 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 As your squishy little necromancer gets pounded into the ground by pretty much anything that farts near it. Now, the really good news, guys, is we can rework the mages in Season 21 PTR, and they are now incredibly tanky. We can do GR95 in under 2.5 minutes, and I'll say again, solo mages are now incredibly tanky. Really easy to play, hit super hard, very casual friendly. Really do enjoy this build a lot. But before we jump in and take a look and show you, just a couple of things to bear in mind. First off, I cocked up and put Zystone of Vengeance in the footage rather than the Bane of the Trapped, so that would be giving me a little bit more damage. I have used Ultimate Paragon, but my gear isn't really augmented and I haven't really got mega optimized gear, so we'll go through it, we'll talk about all the pieces. But before we do, if you do enjoy Diablo 3 like me, consider subscribing. I'm going to be covering all the classes, lots of different builds. I make as many videos as I can, so if you find them useful, just hit the sub button, and a thumbs up always brightens my day. Now, the main reason we've got to rework mages is because the Reaper's Wraps on PTR has been changed. So I should say this is PTR footage, all of this is potentially subject to change. There's only one thing I'm a little unsure about, which we'll talk about when we get to it, but I do think most of this will stay. Now, Reaper's Wraps, what you used to do with Singularity Mages playing solos is you would have Life from Death passive, you would consume loads of corpses, you have a 20% chance of activating a health globe. When you gobble it up like Pac-Man, the Reaper's Wraps activate, you get primary resource, and you can then cast your mages and do more damage. What they've added is an internal cooldown to this, so the effect cannot occur more than once every 2 seconds. That for me is just a little bit too clunky. I don't want to be worrying about, do I want to collect this health globe, do I want to wait? So I've just stripped it out of the build. Now, if this gets changed and reduced maybe to 1 second, I might add it back in. To be honest, you could maybe just try and add it back in anyway, but the rework we've got does allow us for some toughness, for some damage, so I do quite like it how I've got it set up at the moment, but that's the main reason why. Now, offsetting this, we've got the Rosette's Volition Shoulders. Skeletal Mage now gains the effect of Gift of Death and Singularity Rune. We also gain 48, 50% damage reduction, whatever it is, when our essence isn't full. So at the moment, I've got full essence, so that would be no damage reduction. But once we start pumping mages out, essence goes down, and we then get this damage reduction. The Haunted Vision Necklace has also been changed. Simulacrum drains 1% of our life per second, but importantly, it lasts forever. So I've popped Simulacrum, the guy's there, he normally lasts like 15 seconds.
That's what she said!
With the new reworked necklace, he'll never disappear. Now, this is the only item that I'm a little unsure as to whether this is bugged or not, because it says they can now duplicate Grim Scythe instead of Skeletal Mage. Now, I took that to mean that when we click Skeletal Mage, we won't get them. It won't duplicate that skill, but as we can see here, we do have Circle Ring, so that gives us an extra Skeletal Mage and also makes them last 4 seconds, so we get 2 mages here. Simulacrum will double our secondary skill, so we should get 4, which we do. We get 4 mages. Now, I'm not sure whether this is supposed to happen, because to me, instead of Skeletal Mage means that they shouldn't do, but we'll just have to see. Now, it's a Legacy Dreams build, so you need this gem at rank 99. When you get it there, you get 9,750% damage multiplier and 52% damage reduction. It's obviously pretty good mitigation, pretty good damage. What I would say, if you are building this in Season 21, don't worry too much about getting Ancients everywhere. It's much better to get the correct pieces. There's only really the boots and probably belt, maybe offhand and braces that I'd say are not super essential. The rest of it is all very important, so I would just go for non-ancients until I geared this up. It will still hit really hard. 95 in 2.5 minutes is obviously a fairly decent level. So, Skeletal Mage. Now, these shoulders give us 2 runes for free, so let's have a look. So, Gift of Death basically means that the mages leave a corpse behind. Now, when you use Simulacrum, it looks like they only leave 2, so the Simulacrum double cast of the mages hasn't left 4 corpses, it's only left 2, but still we can consume the corpses with Devour and get some essence back. We also get Singularity on the shoulders, and this is huge. What this does is it consumes all of our available essence, and it gives us 3% damage per every point of essence that we use. So if let's say we consume these corpses on the ground here, So with Singularity, I'd now get 41 times 3%. If I activated my mages now, they'd have just over 120% damage mod on them. If I filled my essence to 660, I get 660 times 3%. So obviously they hit super hard, and it makes sense to cast them near full. So that's obviously pretty good. With those 2 runes on, because of the shoulders, it means we get to choose one ourselves, and we're going to go for the Skeleton Archer. This is great because it turns the damage into cold, which is really useful for our gloves. But we also get this stacking attack speed buff up to 30%. Now the mages will hit loads of stuff, so this buff will be up all of the time provided there are monsters around. And 30% extra attack speed is just more damage to the mages, so they hit pretty hard. So pretty nice. Now Simulacrum lasting forever again is pretty huge because with the Reservoir rune we will double our max essence. So without this we'd only get 330 essence. So doubling it to 660 is a double damage mod that is up permanently. We activate it once at the start of the rift and then we don't have to touch it again. Now in terms of getting to this 660 figure for the maximum amount of essence, you want essence as a secondary on your scythe, you want essence as a secondary on your offhand, you want to take overwhelming essence passive for another 40, and you want to put essence into your paragon, 50 points. The only other item I think in the game that will grant you essence is a Stone of Jordan, which you could use instead of the convention whilst you're looking for one, but ultimately I think the convention is going to be better for you. So that's pretty much how we get that essence really high, so that we pump out a mage that does really big damage. Now the next question really is, what other multipliers have we got? So mages are a secondary skill, so the Scythe of the Cycle will give us up to 400% extra damage, provided we have bone armor on the bar. It's on a 10-second cooldown, so it comes back really often, so we just refresh this whenever we need, because when we pump out a set of mages, it takes 4 seconds off bone armor's duration. The duration is normally 60 seconds, this takes 4 off, so if you overspam your mages, bone armor will drop, but fortunately it's on a short cooldown. We gear for cooldown quite a lot, so it means that this comes back really quick, so we've always got this 400% damage modifier, really nice. The Rylina's Shadow Hook also pairs really well with this because we get more damage for our essence, so we get 0.5% for our total essence, so 660 times by 0.5, another 330% damage mod, really good. Now Crispin Sentence is used in every Necro build. We get double damage against slowed enemies and triple this effect against any other CC, so any stun, any freeze. Now normally Land of the Dead is providing the freeze, it freezes the whole screen and it allows us to use unlimited corpses. Great when it's up, mega damage, but we now have a way of proccing this just generally. So the mages obviously are cold because that's their element. When we take the Frostburn gloves, we get extra 20% elemental on the mages, so more damage. They have a 50% chance to freeze. This is amazing. It means they can proc Crispins on their own. So if you think about it, you've got 10 mages out, they're all attacking. Each one, whenever they hit something, has a 50-50 chance to freeze it. It then takes triple damage, so the mages can absolutely hammer things with the Crispin, even when you don't have Land of the Dead. Obviously bone armor's on a short cooldown as we say, so this again is an area of effect stun, so that also activates the Crispin. So we've got crazy uptime on Crispins, which is why these mages just hit so bloody hard all the time. Convention just gives us huge spike damage when we get around to cold element, and then we've got Tasker and Theo increasing the attack speed by 50%, so again even more damage on the mages. Bane of the Trap is just going to give us flat damage. The only thing this isn't going to increase damage against is Juggernaut, but trust me guys, I did about 20 rifts, I didn't even notice when I got Juggernaut. Everything just gets completely wiped with this build, it's that good, so we don't need to worry too much about that, but it's more damage. And then finally Enforcer, again it's just giving us this blanket pet damage for the mages. It also means they take 90% less damage, so they'll just never die, but you refresh them so quickly anyway, it doesn't really matter. Now that's all the kind of damage side of it. What we need to do obviously is to get essence back, because we've consumed those corpses and as you can see there really isn't much in the essence pool. Well, Land of the Dead offers the normal trick of when we activate it we can shoot our essence up, so we just turn Numlock on for Devour, hit Land of the Dead, and we see just how quickly the essence fills up. Now that's great when we've got Land of the Dead, but when we don't have it we still need another source of essence. So what do we have? Well, we've got the command golem here with the flesh golem, so we can plop him down. That's another pile of corpses, so we can pump mages out. They get auto-consumed with Devour and Numlock. It gets us a bit more essence. Doesn't look like much. When we add this to Dark Reaping, which gives us 2% per kill, so 50 kills is completely full essence when we don't even have any other sources of it. It goes up really quick. You know, we're not always casting at full. It doesn't always quite work out like that, but it's pretty much near enough full a lot of the time, and that is enough for the mages to absolutely murder stuff. So that's pretty much the mechanism. Now, supporting this is the Requiem Cereplate, so Devour will give us up to an extra doubling of essence, so normally it'd be like 10, we will get to 20 or thereabouts every time we consume something, so that is pretty good. Very essential gear piece here. Now the golem is on a fairly decent cooldown, 45 seconds. With these pants we're going to get 25 seconds off that, so every 20 seconds we can now pop this guy down. With fairly decent CDR, it means every 10 seconds we can slam this guy on the ground and it's just a load of corpses. There we go, we can just do it again. And what it means is that we've got this constant pile of corpses that just follow us. Every 10 seconds we can stick him down and generate some more essence, which is really nice. Rounding us out, we're going to basically gear for cooldown quite aggressively. So we've got a Leoric's Crown, doubling the cooldown gem in the helm, and also the Vigilante belt, giving us an 8% cooldown roll on it. Then Offhand actually matters, which is really nice for a Necro build because the archers are cold. It means that they will reduce move speed of the enemies. That is going to activate Bane at the Trap for us at range, so that's pretty nice. We also get move speed increase, so 10% for 5 seconds, stacking 5 times. That's 50% move speed, so that makes us move pretty fast. It means we don't actually need teleport in the build, and that's how we can do rifts in 2.5 minutes without even taking Blood Rush, which is pretty good. Now let's see, have I left any of the gear pieces out? Yeah, the boots. So the illusory boots I think are best in slot, simply just because they allow you to move through Waller, they allow you to run through enemies. So you just pump a set of 4 mages out here at fairly high essence, they'll just wreck stuff, you carry on running through the map and nothing can stop you. You then cast another set and so on and so forth. So certainly the least important thing here, but still probably I'd say best in slot. Now if you wanted to make this tougher, what you could do is take Ice Climbers and pair those with Stone Gauntlets. This would give you an absolutely huge stack of armor every time you get hit. The negative attack speed and move speed penalty that you get with this is completely removed by taking Ice Climbers. So you could also stick in rubies in your gear and that will give you a lot of toughness, but you'd have to lose probably Tasker and Theo to do that setup. Now you don't need it basically because we've got so much damage mitigation, we're just really tough. So we've got 52% from the Legacy of Dreams, we've got 50% from Resist Volition, we've got 30% from the Golem Skin Breaches, and we've got 30% from Bone Armor Dislocation. All in all, I found that to be adequate toughness to do GR95. I probably died about once in about 17-18 rifts, and to be honest that was probably tongue lashes and a stud and something that I shouldn't have done, so it is pretty tanky, but there is at least a backup here if you do want to make it a bit tougher. Now other gear pieces potentially you could use would be maybe to take a Swamplands to get a little bit more cold damage. Same for the Andaro's Visage, this also can roll cold elemental on it, but to be honest I kind of like how it is and it does play pretty well. Now let's have a look at the skills. So the skeletons we've covered in detail. Simulacrum Reservoir, you're never going to want to take this off, double damage the whole way is amazing. Bone Armor, as we say, 30% damage reduction and AoE stun. Devour rune wise is pretty debatable. I've gone for Satiated to beef up our life pool because Dark Reaping gives us such huge sustain. What I find is that we can just about stop ourselves from getting killed because our life pool is so high. Now if you don't want to do Numlock, Devouring Aura would actually give you a little bit more essence. It doesn't have quite the same radius, but 11 essence per corpse rather than 10 is a little bit extra. And then generally the kind of classic one that you see used a lot is Cannibalize, which will give you some sustain. So Cannibalize or Satiated would probably be my picks. I've been playing with this one, but by all means you can swap that one out if you want. Land of the Dead Frozen Lands, Necro build, that's it. And the Flesh Golem obviously we've covered in a bit of detail as well. Dark Reaping, absolutely essential, don't take this off, you'll run out of essence. Overwhelming Essence is a bit more essence, a bit more damage. Blood is power, is really useful because we've got a lot of cooldown, but we're not using the Messerschmitt's Reaver or anything like that, no Ingeome. What it means is we do have quite a while between Land of the Dead cycles. Now the build functions perfectly well without Land of the Dead up, you'll see that in the footage, it really still works. But obviously Land of the Dead is amazing because the whole screen is frozen and you just have no problem getting to max essence. So 20% cooldown after you lose 100% of your life. You're going to take plenty of damage, it will activate. It also means when it activates, your golem is just so much nearer to being ready. But that's probably the only passive I'd consider swapping out. I wouldn't take the cheat death off, we do rely on it sometimes. Obviously you just have to play a little less aggressively when this activates. But other than that, you can just literally just run straight, head into stuff without a care in the world. But once this is activated, you probably just need to be a little bit more careful about what it is you're tackling and making sure you're getting either your bone arm dislocations off, or you've got Land of the Dead, or you know, whatever it is. So if you were to swap Blood is Power, other good passives could potentially be Fueled by Death for more move speed to make it quicker. Again, maybe at a slightly lower GR level. I probably wouldn't try Commander of the Risen Dead. The Golem is back super fast anyway, but this would improve that if that's what you wanted to do. Extended Servitude would be great to take in the build because it would be an extra 25% duration on the mages. That would help with the kind of essence, but honestly I think Blood is Power is probably more beneficial, but again, certainly could test that and play around with it. And I think that was pretty much it. If you did want to try the Reaper's Wraps instead of the Tasker and Theo, you could leave this on, and that would maybe get you to the essence a little bit faster. But as I say, it seems to me like they want to nerf this, they don't want us to use it, so that's why we've gone for it. So I think that probably covers all of the gear pieces and all the skills. One swap maybe if you weren't so fussed about this 8% cooldown roll, a Witching Hour here could give you a bit more crit damage, a bit more attack speeds. That would be beneficial for the mages, but honestly cooldown is pretty handy for the Golem and also for Land of the Dead. So I think I've got just under 60%, and that's with getting it on lots of places. Now in terms of stats, you definitely want cooldown everywhere, so I could have a little bit more on this weapon. I probably should re-roll that. You want cooldown and mage damage on your offhand and crit chance. You're going to want to take skeletal mage damage on your boots, and other than that, full defensive stats. Full defensive stats on your pants. Make sure you get your 8% cooldown on your vigilante belt, and other than that, you know, invit life percent. For your Requiem Seraplate, full defensive stats. Try and get to 100%. It does make a difference. I've orged this, so I'm probably just going to be stuck with this. I much prefer it at 100%. For your helm, if you want to go super DPS, you can actually roll skeletal mage damage and crit chance, so that would be good, but skeletal mage damage is definitely the priority. Cold element and 6% crit on the braces, and then cold element, socket and double crit would be amazing on your haunted visions. It's not that hard to get this to roll well because it always drops with the socket. For your shoulders, unfortunately these always roll with resource cost reduction. It's completely worthless to mages because you're giving it a rune that completely empties essence, so that needs changing, and hopefully they take that default roll off. But other than that, cooldown and area damage would be amazing because the mages do benefit from area damage, so ideally it would be invit, cooldown and area damage. For your gloves, cooldown, double crit, and if you've got enough main stat, again area damage would be amazing. You could even take attack speed, that would be fine. For your crispies, as close to 100% as possible. Socket definitely. Cooldown would be good. Again, I've got this orged and I don't have cooldown. And then I think you're probably going to end up stuck with main stat because it normally defaults with attack speed. So again, attack speed probably will be better later on than main stat, but flip between one of those two. Then for your convention, socket, crit, cooldown obviously would be perfect. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Now in terms of playstyle, really easy to play. All we do is we open the rift, we activate Simulacrum. We don't need to activate that again. We presumably will have numlocked Devour before we enter. We then just need to find a group of enemies, hit Bone Armor. That will get our Scythe of the Cycle bonus up. We then pop Land of the Dead and just pump mages out at full. Now once you've got 10 mages out, all you need to do is when they're about to drop off like that, pop them again. And it kind of tells you when they're about to drop off. Once Land of the Dead is gone, you then fire your golem about, and that just allows you to keep consuming corpses. And with the Dark Reaping passive, this basically means that we get essence every time we kill stuff. So that's pretty much the rotation. Really easy. All you're doing is making sure you've got your 10 mages out. Land of the Dead, use it off cooldown. Golem, use it off cooldown. Bone Armor, use it off cooldown. And that's it. Really straightforward. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this build. It's an awful lot of fun. If I don't find anything better, I'm probably going to spend a lot of time playing this next season. I do have Legacy Dreams Corpse Explosion left to test, and also Grim Scythe. But one of the really cool things about this build is if you want to push with it, you can just keep going higher. You just obviously have to play slightly differently, and we can swap over to this kind of tankier, slightly less damage setup. There's even a thought maybe to just completely removing Land of the Dead and not worrying about cooldowns. You could swap it for, let's say, Bone Spikes with the stun rune, and you'd basically be using that and the archers to get your Crispin's procs. That would generate essence. You're not quite as reliant on Devour, so you know that's maybe something that you could do. But really strong build, really pleased it's tanky. Feels a lot like a Necromancer because you've got this army of cold archers around and your Simulacrum running about with you. So yeah, very nice. That's it, guys. I will be back with some more PTR footage just as soon as I can. I hope you're all staying safe. Take it easy. Peace.
The sanctity of this place has been fouled.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear I weighed the person you